to say. I totally agree with everything she said. I've been sitting around this table since 2000. Every year the auditor says that our reserves are low. Year after year we are. Mr. Levac during the budget deliberations told us that we were falling back into the increase from $47 to $52. I actually recall it. And I know that some people are not rich, and some people are struggling. That's a fact. That's a fact all over. Capital budgets, you know, if I was going to yell at you, it's on page 13, where I see almost half of the tax levy raised, and 2012 I think corporations needed to fund the investment levies. And on top of that, we're getting $500,000 a year in bonus pay to those two police and fire, on top of what they're making in terms of pension and their salary. That's what I would be screaming at. That's where we've got to recuperate. Well, that's where all the municipalities at AMO were upset at, because those folks are getting bonus for staying in the job. If I tried that anywhere, I would work that again. I know this is going to get me in trouble, and that's the way it is, but that's the way I feel. We shouldn't be giving bonuses to people to stay on the job. And that's where we should be yelling and screaming. Not taking away from getting in trouble. I don't think that doesn't really bother me there. I think that $1 a week is not going overboard. I like what the budget steering committee has come up with. I like what administration, all the administration came in here and tore down everything and went to as low as they could go. 2% is good. 2% I'll support anything else.
Councilor Murphy. Thank you very much, Your Worship. And some very interesting discussions and debates, and I like Councilor O'Shaughnessy's roadmap through the process, which I think is a very viable one. One of the things that the Budget Committee, and the Budget Committee does fantastic work, and I tip of the hat to everyone involved. We came up, and I believe it was a little bit high, it was higher than 2%, but then the province came down and said, oops, you got to find an extra $700,000. We found it. Why did we have to wait for the province to tell us the plan? Maybe I'm unfamiliar with the process, but why couldn't we find that before? And then we come in, and so if the province hadn't have said that, would we have found that $700,000? Would we have to go through the exercise of trying to find it, or would our taxes be down? That would be, I believe, bring it down to 1.3 based on the numbers that we have presented today. The other one. Oh, that's right, yes, it would be 0.7 or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, too, our financial auditors last year said, or Ms. Adams, and I believe you can clarify through you, Your Worship, said we are in good financial shape. We would not have a problem with any institution as far as our financial grade.
That is correct.
So
our reserves overall are positive. Like our reserves in comparison to other municipalities, we wanted to compare us to our neighboring ones, Brockville, Belleville. We have a good level of reserves, primarily because we have the progress fund. That is part of that calculation. Many of the reserves that we have outside of the progress fund are specific to water, sewer, building services, those types of items. So when you take a look at, we had a couple of years ago, when we had some one-time items, we introduced a landfill reserve to start to put money aside for the eventual closure of our landfill site and the plan of what we would have to do to reopen another site or make alternative arrangements. When we contributed to that reserve, yes. We established a tax stabilization reserve so that if we have another scenario like a Domtar that exits our community, it gives us the ability to determine how we are able to respond to that. So overall, I think that we do have a good financial funds aside for the balance sheet. We're adequately reserved. I think the debate that's on the table is that working reserve amount that we tend to tap into for the items that come up occasionally that we haven't allowed for within our budget. So,
Bottom line is, we're not behind the proverbial financial eight ball. We're in pretty good shape.
we are.
So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to kind of at least attempt to a possible further reduction. One of the things I noticed, and this, I may need clarification on this, 150,000 for the Bob Turner reconstruction studies, whatever. For the Cy Miller, that came out of working reserves. Why is it in the budget under the Bob Turner? Why wouldn't that come out of reserves?
The Cy Miller money, the motion of council was to, I think, the last year in 2011, that project was in the budget. And based on pressures at that point in time, we removed that project out of the budget. But Mr. Alexander had that in the budget. And we also wanted to put money in the budget in 2011 for the Bob Turner, which we could not do either. So those projects were removed. Mid-year, we recognized that that facility had, the Cy Miller facility had to come down based on the condition that it was in. So then the recommendation was made by administration and I think council, certainly Councilor Shaughnessy's support. We drew on working reserves to deal with that issue with the intention to pay it back. So whatever proceeds of sale we make on that property, the intention of that motion of that day was to understand that we're using working reserves to allow us to move on our project sooner than later, get it going, and then when we sell the property, that gets contributed back to working reserves. This year, we put money in for the Bob Turner. If you wanted to look at it as a timing issue, like we did for the Cy Miller, have it come from working reserves. And then the issue with the Bob Turner is there's no revenue area to redevote money back into working reserves. So if you're going to take it out of working reserves, it's gone, unless there's another plan to contribute money to working reserves. The situation with the Cy Miller is that there is a sale looming that would offset.
That was actually the answer I was looking for.